Hi everyone. So in this video, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the short essay, Multiple Modes and Complex Problems. Hopefully you've already read the instructions, but I'm hoping that talking through the instructions a little bit, having a little bit of commentary might help you out with making sure you have a good understanding of the requirements for the essay and what's involved, so that you can get started and on the right foot and have a good experience with the essay. So first, I address this in the purpose statement here. So with this essay, you'll be applying the course concepts we have on multimodality and multiple modes on your chosen complex problem. So you'll be applying those with your complex problem in mind, and you'll be analyzing how multiple modes can be used to actually address a problem like your complex problem. We have of course, our class readings by Wysocki, Williams, some other materials on Canvas. So you want to make sure you are drawing from those. And of course, you'll also, of course, want to be using very specific example documents that you can use to point to show how some documents are already using multiple modes to address a particular topic, in this case, your complex problem. So in choosing those 2 or 3 documents, you're going to be using those as examples in your essay, so that you can illustrate and see and show how one document uses multiple modes in this way, this other document uses these multiple modes in this other way. In some way that you can really illustrate your points, rather than just talking in big generalizations about, well, multiple modes can be used to address this complex problem in these ways, but without showing actually examples, it's not going to be as effective. So that's why we are required to have 2 or 3 documents, publications relating to your complex problem that are your examples of how multiple modes are being used to address some aspect of your complex problem. And of course, you want to make sure you are including those documents with your final submission, either with your web links, with your full citations, or you can attach the files as well to make it easy to access those. Here are the details, though, of course. So the essay is going to be 1,000 words or more. So 1,000 words or more should be a well-argued analysis of how multiple modes can be used to effectively address some aspect of your complex problem, applying and citing some of our class materials on multimodality and visual design. And I point particularly to Wysocki and Williams. We have, I believe, a couple other resources on Canvas as well that relate to those that you can also draw from. As I say, want some aspect of your complex problem at this point, you still might be fine-tuning what your focus is really going to be surrounding that problem, because some complex problems are really big. And so as you work on them and explore them and keep researching them, you may discover that, you're tweaking, right? What area of it you're going to be focusing on the most. And so you just need to make sure that you're addressing, some aspect of that complex problem. So that's why your documents that you've chosen as examples don't have, you may not end up going that direction long term, but thinking they have to be connected to your complex problem in some way. So you're going to be analyzing those example documents, though, as part of your evidence in your essay. And of course, remembering, thinking about, well, what was the original purpose of this document that I'm using as an example? Who is its audience? What modes what modes are being used in this, and how are they being used? So you can think, of course, about what Wysocki said about using multiple modes and what those modes are and the advantages of each of those different modes. And of course, in the essay itself, you want to make sure you include some very important elements. So you can actually list it as kind of a checklist here. I hope that's helpful for you in making sure that you're including all of these elements. And so you do want to make sure that you are directly referencing Wysocki or Williams or both, or perhaps another class reading on multimodality. And of course, making sure you're citing them clearly and make sure it's very clear when you're referring to any ideas from them. Feel free to quote them as necessary. Also, direct references to the examples that you're using, right? Those example documents, again, you want to be using at least 2 of them. So you want to make sure that you're choosing ones that, as I said, that are relevant to your complex problem, and between the 2 of them, at least between the 2 or 3 of them, they represent the use of more than one mode. So yeah, it's okay if one of them is completely text, but the other one must use other modes as well, right? So you just want to make sure that they're between all the documents examples you're using, they're representing multiple modes. And of course, sorry, my dog is here. And of course, you also want to be using more than one mode yourself in your essay. And so that's where you yourself can show some of these examples to your classmates in your essay. And one good way to do that is using screenshots, using links, and the other forms of visuals that you might be able to use, and inserting those in the essay. And so this is not like your regular essay where you're just all text based. Rather, you can be creative in terms of if your layout as necessary, so that you can fit in those visuals, those links, those videos, even so whatever multiple modes are appropriate. Particularly they might be from the example documents that you're referencing and want to show us. But you want to make sure you incorporate other modes into your own essay. So I do have some suggestions here just in terms of organizing your essay. This is one place that you can get stuck on sometimes. And of course, we do have an activity on Canvas for outlining your essay, which I hope will be helpful for planning it out, because it can really save you a lot of time and trouble if you take some time to plan it out. And so that's why I have an assignment for that. But here are a few suggestions about that. So for one important element of it is you do want to make sure that you are centering your essay around a particular argument or idea, right? So what is the key idea you want to get across? And in that sense, this is like a traditional essay in that way, where you are kind of having a thesis of sorts, right? Where you want to make sure you have kind of a clear purpose for your essay. You want to have an idea of what do you want your reader to take away from this essay. So I do have the recommended academic structure that I have here that you might go by as an idea to start with. So in the introduction, you might frame your essay by perhaps briefly discussing some of the ideas from our class readings on multimodality, visual design, as a way of kind of leading up to your thesis. You're leading up to an argument about how multiple modes might be used to effectively address your chosen complex problem. So something like that. And then, of course, making sure that you are bringing in some of those examples and evidence in the body, right? So in the body, you'll be proving your argument with some details, show examples from those documents, those publications that you chose. That's a great opportunity to use multiple modes in your essay, such as if you're using screenshots, visual examples, things like that. And of course, also, this is a good time to make other additional connections to our class materials on multimodality and visual design, the use of multiple modes. So Williams-Wysocki or another material that we addressed on Canvas. And I would also wanted to note that in doing this, you don't have to go with like the 3 points, so intro, 3 points, and conclusion, like you do with the 5-paragraph essay. So that is something that we can leave behind us here. So you don't have to worry about that type of structure. And then finally, your conclusion, right? So that's where you're bringing it all together. But we're often tempted in the conclusion to just simply summarize what we just said. And sometimes that can be a good approach, right? Where you're kind of re-emphasizing at least your key argument. You don't need to actually go into too much detail summarizing that, because the essay is not that long. But you might re-emphasize the key thing you want your reader to take away. But another good thing to do in your conclusion is to address, well, why is this important? Why should this reader care? So for example, what are the significance of using multiple modes to help address a complex problem? Why is that an important thing? Right. So there's those things you might think about in a conclusion, is thinking about what is important about your argument. And then I have those requirements kind of summed up here, right? With making sure you're responding thoroughly to the prompt, you have a very clear understanding of our class concepts on multimodality and visual design, and of course explicitly and clearly draw from and cite our class readings, use multiple modes in the essay itself, and of course meet the length requirement of 1,000 words or more. And make sure you're using a clearly recognized citation style for your citations. So you could use MLA or APA. Those are what I recommend. But if you are more familiar with a different citation style in your field, check with me, and we'll see if that will work or not. And of course, make sure you're before you turn in your final draft, you're proofreading carefully and including any of the document examples that you have with your submission. Whether the documents themselves or working links to them, to make sure you double check those links to make sure that they're actually working, and perhaps they'll be included in your works cited page, and the links will be there, so that is also sufficient. All right, so that's kind of the overview here, and I know in some cases I was kind of reading from some parts of it, but I'm hoping that talking through it was helpful for you as you're thinking about what is involved with this essay, and I hope that you'll enjoy doing this. I always enjoy these. Getting a chance to see you applying some of our class concepts, but also thinking further about your own complex problem, so you can continue to develop your own thinking about that as we continue to work on that complex problem as the semester continues to progress. So I'll leave it at that. But if you do have questions about the essay as you work on it, as you plan it, as any step of the process, make sure you just let me know.